Chapter 22 GLEN Cottage 15 May 1890 to Dover Press. George Grudge has been arrested in connection with the attempted assassination of the Blackthorne family during a banquet held at Blackthorne Manor 2 weeks ago. According to witnesses, a hired assassin employed by Grudge drew a revolver and fired upon Lady Blackthorne during the celebration. Master James Blackthorne, who had reportedly become alarmed by a series of strange incidents surrounding the estate in the preceding weeks, acted in defense of his family and fatally shot the assailant before further harm could be done. Also credited with saving Lady Blackthorne's life was Master William Burke, the 13-year-old son of Roger Burke, the newly appointed overseer of the Blackthorne lands. Witnesses stated that the boy courageously shielded Lady Blackthorne moments before the shot was fired. Authorities report that more than 40 guests witnessed the attack. George Grudge, whose criminal history includes allegations of rape, illegal slave trading, theft, arson, and larceny, is scheduled to be hanged in London on the 1st of June. After the ordeal of the recent events, Master James and Master William have become nearly inseparable. In light of all that occurred, the Blackthornes and the Burkes agreed that Master William should remain at Blackthorne East, accompanying the adjoining chambers beside Master James, while the Burke family settled into their beautiful new home, GLEN Cottage. Master James had grown quiet and withdrawn. More than anything, he wished to be left alone with Master William, and in any effort to preserve peace and allow the boys time to recover, both the family and servants quietly respected his wishes. Privacy and quiet were exactly what the boys needed in order to process the horror of recent events and begin to heal. Still dressed in his pajamas well past 10:30 a.m., Master James finally rang for Pritchard. A few minutes later there was a knock at Master James' bedroom door. James allowed Pritchard to wait briefly before opening it slowly. With quiet composure he said, "Please bring 2 breakfast trays, simple scrambled eggs, toast, and fresh fruit, also apricot preserves and a piping hot pot of tea for 2. And have a vase of blue roses brought up without thorns. I shall wake Master Williams myself. Bring the trays here. We will dine in my chambers." Pritchard hesitated, finding the request somewhat unusual. "Sir," he said carefully, "would you and Master William be more comfortable dining in the salon or perhaps the blue room?" Master James' expression hardened instantly. "Mr. Pritchard," he said sharply, "you will never again refer to Master William and myself as boys. Any gentleman forced to shoot an assassin because the household failed to protect his family is evidently more aware of danger than the rest of the manor combined." He paused, his blue eyes cold with exhaustion and irritation. "Now see to my report and my request properly, and Darjeeling tea this morning, not Ceylon. Thank you. You are dismissed." Nearly everyone irritated James these days. The servants constantly offered sympathetic remarks. "Oh, Master James, you were so brave. You saved your mother. Or worse, a child your age should never witness such horrors. Please tell us if there is anything we can do for you." Their pity exhausted him. James realized he had forgotten to ask Pritchard for the morning paper. "Damn it," he thought. He rang the bell 5 times before Pritchard finally returned. "My apologies, Pritchard. I should not have had you return from the kitchens." James paused. "But I do want the morning papers from Dover and Kent." Pritchard hesitated, clearly aware of the reports concerning George Grudge. "I believe your father is currently reading the paper, sir." James' irritation surfaced again. "Sir, it is a simple matter. Please do your job. I know for a fact my father orders 2 copies of the newspaper each morning. My mother is having breakfast at Glen with Mrs. Burke, so fetch me the damn paper." He paused, then added more quietly, "Thank you. You are dismissed." James felt a surge of agitation, something between the urge to strike out and the need to break down entirely. He did not even acknowledge Sebastian as the bird stirred in his cage. Instead, he crossed through the Blackthorne West salon and moved directly into the adjoining bedroom of Master William. Master William was still sound asleep, equally exhausted, emotionally and physically, from the recent events. He always looked peaceful when he slept, almost luminous in his stillness. James paused at his bedroom, then gently kissed his forehead. In the quiet that followed, there was an unspoken understanding between them now, so complete it required no words, only a glance, a shift of breath, a certainty of presence. He took William's hand, pressed it briefly to his lips, and then guided him back to his own chamber. Together they settled beneath the warm covers, holding each other in silence. When Pritchard later knocked, Master James had already taken additional pillows from the salon and propped both of them comfortably upright, as though prepared for a private breakfast within the sanctuary of the room. "Enter, Pritchard." Pritchard stepped inside, pausing slightly as he looked at the sight of both boys together in bed. "Master William, are you quite all right?" he asked gently. "Wouldn't you both be more comfortable in the blue room?" Master James' irritation surfaced again. "That is not your place," he said firmly. "You do not question what the master in this house chooses to do." He paused, his tone steady but edged with exhaustion. "We are simply tired. We will take a light breakfast and then return to sleep." Pritchard hesitated, his concern now more evident in caution. "Sir, forgive me," he said gently, "but both you and Master William have been quite tired and withdrawn since the recent events. We are only concerned for your well-being." James softened considerably. "I'm sorry if I have been rude, sir. Yes, these recent events have been horrific, and neither of us is sleeping well, but we are taking time to talk, to process, and to think, and I believe that is healthy." He hesitated slightly, then added more quietly, "Don't you agree, sir?" Pritchard nodded, his composure faltering for a moment as though he were close to tears. A quiet man by nature, he had served the Blackthorne household for nearly 40 years. The events of the attempted assassination had shaken the staff almost as deeply as they had shaken Master James and Master William. After a brief hesitation, Pritchard spoke, more boldly than was strictly proper. "Sir," he said softly, "we truly care for you both, and we want to help in any way we can." Nothing unsettled James more than the quiet certainty in Pritchard's words that he truly cared. He paused, visibly absorbing it before responding. "Please inform my father," he said carefully, "that Master William and I are ready to meet with him privately at 4 o'clock during tea to discuss these matters." He held Pritchard's gaze a moment longer. "And if he had other plans," James added more firmly, "you may assure him that the well-being of his sons is of greater importance than acquiring a few additional acres of land." In that moment, James recognized something he had not fully allowed himself to name: anger towards his father. The realization that his father had not been able to protect him or his mother during the recent events settled heavily in his mind. Though he still loved him, James felt with unsettling clarity that he now felt stronger and more secure with William at his side. When Pritchard had gone, the boys ate their meal in quiet. Sebastian, observing from nearby, seemed to sense their melancholy and remained unusually still. After breakfast, it was William who spoke first. "James," he said quietly, we cannot continue to hide from the world. We need to begin living again and find a goal that can inspire us." James fell silent for a moment, weighing his words carefully. "I just wish we could escape our lives," he said at last. "I've never said this aloud before, and I want it kept between us." He looked at William steadily. "I have no desire to become the next Earl. I do not want to rule Blackthorne Head. I do not want to spend my life depending and defending the formula of the blue elixir." His voice lowered slightly. "Do you know what my deepest desire is, William?" William noticed that familiar intensity returning in James, something sharp, almost predatory in its focus, and gave a faint, knowing smile. "I think I can guess, my wolf man," he murmured. Before the moment could settle further, James leaned in and kissed him, the connection between them flaring into something deeper and more consuming than either had fully acknowledged aloud. When they finally parted, James lingered close, breath unsteady. "I just want us to go away together," he said quietly. "Far from here. I've been thinking about it." William nodded slowly, the ideal settling in. "That sounds heavenly," he said softly. "But what do we do?" James leaned forward slightly, his tone sharpened with renewed focus. "I think we should study hard over the next few years," he said, "and learn what it would take to open our own detective agency. William brightened at once. "James, wow!" he said, a spark of excitement returning to his voice. "I've actually thought about this too. We make a good team, solving problems, I mean." He ticked the memories off with growing energy. "We figured out the Black Rose theft, discovered Lord Vale, and recovered the evidence, brought down Silas Grudge plans, helped free my father, and got him safely hidden, and we brought that Crabtree case to justice, and we saved your mother from the assassination." He paused, breath a little quickened with conviction rather than fear now. "We do work well together." Then, without hesitation, he leaned in and kissed James again. James' expression softened, emotions rising in his voice. "William, we have each other's so well," he said quietly. "You taught me to be brave, to ride a horse, to fire a gun, and I taught you to read, to think more deeply, to study." He looked at him fully now. "No team is better than us." Both boys' energy seemed to lift with this new sense of purpose, a quiet enthusiasm returning as they considered what their future might hold together. James, in particular, felt a quiet certainty growing in him that he could speak to his father about such matters, and that when he did, his father would ultimately listen. The boys rang for Pritchard, who soon returned. "Yes, sir. How was your breakfast?" he asked. "Very good, Pritchard," James replied. "Thank you for your care and attention. Master William and I are feeling much better after a nourishing meal." He paused briefly, then continued with renewed composure. "Please have the large bath prepared in the bathroom, filled with hot water, not scalding. Have my preferred soaps and towels laid out, and inform us when it is ready." He added with a faint attempt at levity, "We intend to wash properly and present ourselves as respectable gentlemen once more. No need to carry the scent of the foul rodent of an assassin." The remark was intended as a joke, but it seemed to pass Pritchard's without recognition. Pritchard said, "Very well, sir. I will see to that right away." When the bath was ready, James brought in the Victrola and set it near the open window. The soft strains of Chopin filled the room. He checked the door carefully and made sure they were locked. At last they were alone. Their ritual was restrained and sensual. James undressed first, slowly taking off his shirt. His chest was now hairier, and he had a dusting of hair that led to the line of his breeches. Then it was William's turn. James watched the white alabaster, like William, was cut from marble, his washboard stomach and muscular pecs. James slowly continued. One button at a time, he unbuttoned his breeches, releasing his manhood. He stepped into the relaxing hot water, which instantly soothed his achy body. William, now feeling the draft, undressed and sank into the water as well. Bathing was usually something that boys endured rather than enjoyed, but tonight it felt different, almost like an equal ritual of cleansing and recovery after everything they had endured. The hot water softened their exhaustion, washing away the tension of fear, shock, and grief that had hung to them for days. James moved a little closer and cupped water in his hands, letting it fall gently over William's shoulders. "For strength," he said softly, half in earnest, half in relief. William responded in kind, mirroring the gesture, letting the water run over James's hands and arms. "For courage," he replied. For a long moment neither spoke again. The room remained filled only with steam, music, and the sense that something heavy was finally beginning to lift. The boys began to laugh again, something light returning to the room, like air after a storm. Gradually the tension eased, and they found themselves giggling, simple, unguarded, almost surprised by it. From that softer place they began to speak about the future again, shaping small plans between them as though it might still belong to them. James hesitated for a moment, then spoke with quiet certainty. "William, I've been thinking," he said. "I don't want you to move to GLEN Cottage. I want you to always be near me." William gave a small, incredulous shake of the head. "I am my own man," he said firmly. "I have no intention of moving to GLEN Cottage, and my father cannot make me." He softened slightly, though his resolve remained. "My intention is to learn everything I can," he continued, "so that one day we leave here and open our detective agency." "I think we should do this gently," James said after a moment. his tone thoughtful, "but I believe our parents will understand." He glanced toward William. "Shall we walk over to Rose Glen and tell our mothers? They should be visiting there all morning." The boys nodded in agreement. They returned quickly to their quarters and changed into comfortable, cheerful clothing, something light enough to match the morning's improving mood. Deciding to ride, they saddled their horses and made their way to Rose Glen within minutes. Lady Camille, Constance, and Sarah were enjoying tea in the beautiful rose garden. Rose Glen Cottage, with its warm stone and overflowing blooms, had become a place of quiet charm and comfort. They looked up in surprise as the boys arrived, clearly out of bed, dressed well, and appearing far more vibrant than they had in days. Relief and delight moved across the women's faces at once. James stepped forward and kissed his mother's cheek with quiet affection. "Mother, you look like an angel in this Garden of Eden," he said warmly. He then turned and greeted Mrs. Burke with equal courtesy. "Mrs. Burke, you are a rare vision of beauty and grace." Lastly, he knelt slightly to Sarah's level and smiled. "And you, little sister, you are like a pink rose in bloom." The ladies exchanged amusing glances and let out a soft laughter at the boy's sudden brightness and ease. Constance tilted her head slightly. "Whatever has gotten into Master James today?" she murmured with a smile. James rose and spoke with composed seriousness. "Mother, Mrs. Burke, if I may ask you to listen," he began. "As you know, William and I, and both of our families, have been through horrific events in recent months. It has tested our spirits and our health more than we can easily say." He paused briefly before continuing. "William and I have discussed this together. We would like him to move permanently to Blackthorne Manor. With the new school term approaching in the fall, we intend to work diligently and focus on our studies." He glanced toward William before returning his attention to the adults. "William wishes to become a gentleman, and it seems only sensible that we continue as companions, almost like brothers, supporting one another. There is little purpose in him commuting daily when he can remain here and still visit Rose Glen freely, including weekends." His tone steadied further as he continued. "In addition, William and I both wish to cultivate the arts, piano, painting, and singing, as well as physical disciplines such as fencing, boxing, and firearm training. We intend to develop ourselves into capable and well-rounded young men. Obviously," James continued, his tone steady but insistent, "we have already found ourselves in a position where we must help protect Blackthorne, even at our own age. If you would allow it, we wish to continue being vigilant where we can." He hesitated slightly before adding more carefully, "In addition, William and I would like Miss Butterfield to continue instructing us in matters of intuition, observation, and practical herbal knowledge, skills she had already begun to teach us." His gaze softened as he looked at his mother. "Without her guidance, Mother, I do not think I would have understood as much as I now do." Constance and Lady Camille exchanged a startling glance, clearly taken aback by what they were hearing. "Darling," Constance said carefully, "we will need to speak with your father about this proposed arrangement." James' irritation surfaced again, though he kept his voice measured. "Mother, this is a very small request considering what we had to endure and the fact that we saved your life," he said. "At the moment, the only thing giving me strength to face each day is knowing William is at my side and that we have both committed ourselves to study diligently so that I may prepare to become Earl someday and William to become overseer." He softened slightly, though his conviction remained firm. "I believe this is a sensible and honorable arrangement, and I trust you will agree." She could not, in truth, find a strong argument against it. William had long felt like a son to her, and when the boys were at ease and in good spirits, they were delightful, creative, bright, charming, and chivalrous in their own youthful way. She softened, and Constance followed her lead. "Yes," Constance said gently, "you make very good points, boys." James added, his tone steady but intent. "There is more, Mother. William and I want to learn more about detective work. It was those skills that helped us uncover the plot against our families and assist in resolving the situation involving Mr. Burke." He held her gaze. "Learning more in this area will only strengthen us as a family. And one last request, Mother," James added, his tone softened slightly. "In a year's time, when I am 13 and William is 14, I would very much like us to be permitted a short excursion on our own, perhaps to London or even Edinburgh. William had never traveled, and I think it would be good for him to see more of the world." He paused briefly, then added with careful assurance, "Of course, we would have friends and family there and proper arrangements for chaperoning." Lady Blackthorne studied him for a moment, a faint knowing smile playing at the corner of her mouth, as though she were quietly wondering what schemes these boys were already forming together. James met his mother's gaze with quiet honesty. "Actually, Mother," he said, "I want to be honest with you. William and I are both interested in detective work. We want to learn more about investigating thefts and attempted attacks." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "We believe we will heal more fully from what has happened if we are doing something constructive, something that helps us grow, learn, and better protect our families." Constance brushed a tear from her cheek, visibly moved. "Our boys are becoming such fine young men," she said softly. James surprised them all by softening his tone. "Sarah, dear," he said gently, "I think it's time you introduce us to your dolls, and perhaps we can continue the tea party inside, if your mother approves." Constance found that moment endearing, a small softness returning to the afternoon as Sarah eagerly began showing James her dolls. James, watching with genuine curiosity, was struck by how each figure seemed to carry its own distinct expression and character, like a quiet study in personality and form. His attention lingered on a porcelain doll with blue-black ringlets, finely made and elegantly dressed. For a moment he simply observed it with an artist's eye, appreciating its details. "She is very beautiful," he said thoughtfully. "We could call her Camille." Lady Blackthorne giggled. William looked absolutely bored, but smiled. As 4 o'clock approached, the boys rode back to Blackthorne to present their proposal arrangement to Lord Blackthorne, noting that they already had the approval of their mothers. Lord Blackthorne listened to the proposal, and after a moment's consideration gave his approval. The arrangement suited him more than he initially expected, and he found some comfort in the idea of the boys remaining close at hand within the house. He raised no objection to the proposed studies in fencing, boxing, firearms, and the arts, nor to Miss Butterfield continuing their instruction in the more unconventional subjects she had once also introduced to him and Roger in their own youth. Nor was he aware or unaware of the strong bond between James and William. He simply chose for now to regard it with quiet, knowing acceptance rather than interference. Lord Blackthorne had always understood the power of long-standing bonds formed in youth. He had known deep loyalty in his own life, particularly in his enduring friendship with Roger, shaped by shared upbringing and years of mutual trust. Though he loved Lady Camille deeply and built his life with her, he remained aware that certain early connections leave lasting impressions, the kind that surface in moments of reflection or nostalgia. Over the years, he and Roger had occasionally taken brief, intimate excursions together under the guise of business. In truth, these were also moments of deep companionship, where old familiarity resurfaced and time seemed briefly to fold back on itself. Lord Blackthorne understood the world he had been born into, the expectations placed upon aristocratic families, the importance of preserving the line, and the duty of producing a secure heir. He also understood the perfect cost such expectations could carry. Lady Camille had endured a difficult pregnancy with Master James, and at any further pregnancy would present serious risk to her health. For that reason, despite the quiet wish for a larger family, he had long since accepted gratitude for what they had been given. Their son was strong, intelligent, and already showing promise, an heir who carried not only the Blackthorne name, but also the legacy of his own father, James Ross, the 5th Earl of Blackthorne. For that, Lord Blackthorne considered himself fortunate. Lord Blackthorne often reflected on the strength of his father, an able and disciplined ruler who had expanded the family estates, increased their property, and maintained stability through turbulent times, including unrest during the Irish uprisings. In that legacy he sometimes saw echo in himself, and with quiet pride in his son. Master James already showed signs of intelligence, composure, and leadership beyond his years. He also observed Master William with interest, bright, perceptive, and spirited, with a sharp wit that suggested both confidence and potential. At times, William's quick intelligence reminded him of the kind of youthful energy he himself had once shared with close companions in his youth. Friendships formed in confidence, competition, and shared experience. These reflections were private ones, rooted not in sentimentality, but in the natural complexity of long-standing family memory and responsibility. Lord Blackthorne rang for Miss Butterfield to share news of her new residence. The cottage would be named Marigold Cottage. It was nearly completed. Rose bushes had been placed alongside rich gold and rust-toned marigolds, while herbs in terracotta pots were arranged along the porch. Inside, the rooms had been finished in warm autumnal hues, soft buttermilk yellow, cinnamon red, and grounding shades of earthy sage. Privately, Lord Blackthorne informed Miss Butterfield of a considerable increase in her remunerations and responsibilities as matron of domestic affairs, with oversight of the household staff and daily operations. Her role, he explained, would also expand to include continued instruction of the boys in the subjects she had already been guiding them through: practical observation, herbal knowledge, natural philosophy, and traditional studies in psychic development and divination, either at Blackthorne Manor or within her new cottage at Marigold Cottage, as circumstances allowed. He made it clear that her judgment in these matters was trusted, and her influence within the household was now formally recognized. That evening after dinner, the Blackthorns and the Burkes escorted Miss Butterfield to her new home. In a playful gesture of surprise, they gently placed a blindfold over her eyes so she could not see the route ahead. When the blindfold was removed, Miss Butterfield saw her new home and sank to her knees, overcome with joy. Tears came freely as she took in the warmth and beauty of Marigold Cottage. Lord Blackthorne stepped forward and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "Miss Butterfield," he said softly, "this is long overdue." They stepped inside and found a warm, inviting parlor awaiting her. Buttermilk yellow velvet furnishings filled the room, accent with cinnamon red and sage green silk cushions. A hearth fire burned softly in the fireplace, casting a gentle glow across the space. Draped carefully over the sofa were Miss Butterfield's heirloom quilts, handmade by her mother in her youth, placed there with evident care and reverence. On a distressed sage green low table sat a crystal vase of yellow roses alongside a large rare amber crystal sphere that caught the firelight in soft honeyed tones, and some new silver foiled tarot cards. Nearly a round pedestal table draped in sage cloth and tea-dye lace held carefully arranged objects of study, an assortment of cards used in traditional readings, alongside reference materials for observation and interpretation. A small curio cabinet contained runic carvings and symbolic tools collected over years of antiquarian interest. A tall bookcase lined one wall, filled with Miss Butterfield's cherished volumes, newly rebound editions of folklore, herbal lore, symbolism, and traditional natural philosophy texts. The kitchen beyond was equally remarkable, its pantries meticulously organized with over 200 dried herbs and botanicals, all labored in precision, alphabetical order. Blackthorne himself had once studied these materials with her in his youth and could still recall them with surprising clarity, not having forgotten a single one. The upstairs quarters were cozy and cheerful, designed for comfort rather than formality. A large bathroom adjoined the room, complete with a deep tub and a properly functioning indoor toilet. Modern convenience that made the cottage feel both practical and refined. Next to the bedroom sat a small private office, quiet and well lit. Official house records from Blackthorne were transferred there, giving Miss Butterfield structured authority over domestic affairs, while also allowing her more personal leisure time as she eased into a gentler, more reflective stage of life. For a moment, Miss Butterfield abandoned all formality and embraced Lord Blackthorne, overcome with emotion as she wept quietly in his arms. The boy stepped forward next, offering her warm, sincere hugs of their own. "We are very excited, Miss Butterfield, to become your metaphysics students," James said gently. "We promise to work hard and make good use of what you teach us." Miss Butterfield returned their affection with heartfelt kisses on their foreheads, visibly moved by their sincerity. Constance, Roger, and Lady Camille watched the scene unfold, were also touched, each quietly dabbing at tears at the warmth of the moment. For Miss Butterfield it felt like the happiest day of her life. Born into a poor East London family, she had endured hardship from an early age. Her father had abandoned them, and her mother later died, young from consumption, leaving her to navigate the world largely alone. She worked for many years in service before eventually securing a position as cook on the estate like Blackthorne. To now stand here entrusted with her own cottage and holding the respected title of matron of domestic affairs at one of the most distinguished estates in Britain felt almost beyond belief. It was a quiet, deeply personal joy she could scarcely put into words. Just then a carriage arrived carrying Pritchard and several of the household servants. They had come bearing gifts in quiet celebration. Pritchard stepped forward and in a rare gesture of warmth kissed Miss Butterfield's hand. "We are so proud of you," he said softly. "We wish only to offer our humblest thanks." He presented her with a carefully wrapped package tied in green ribbon. Miss Butterfield unwrapped it to reveal a delicate porcelain teapot, beautifully painted with pale yellow roses, a refined and thoughtful gift. "Oh, this is so lovely," Miss Butterfield said, visibly touched. "Thank you, Pritchard." The new footmen, Christopher and David, then stepped forward with another carefully wrapped gift, this time in a soft pink box. "What is this?" she asked gently. She lifted the lid and found a delicate silk shawl inside, hand-painted with soft pink and yellow floral patterns. It was the most exquisite thing she had ever seen, so fine and light it seemed almost like a brushstroke-made fabric. For a moment it reminded her of a painting she had once admired in the impressionistic style of Claude Monet. Miss Butterfield bowed her head, visibly moved. "Gentlemen," she said softly, "I will cherish this beautiful gift for as long as I live." Just then Jessica Burns, a baker from a nearby town, arrived carrying an elaborate two-tiered cheesecake decorated with lemon curd, sugared lemon slices, crystallized violets, and fresh blueberries, a bright promise of springtime. She stepped forward and kissed Miss Butterfield's cheek warmly. "Congratulations," she said softly. The boys suddenly realized how hungry they were. "That looks delicious," James remarked with renewed energy. Jessica smiled and quickly returned to the kitchen to put the kettle on for tea, while the guests began to gather inside Marigold Cottage, drawn into the warmth of the celebration. In that moment, Miss Butterfield felt quite certainty settled within her. The path she had taken her given her life a purpose and stability, one in which her skills, experience, and care were genuinely valued. Her role as matron of domestic affairs and her work guiding the household and the boys in their studies had become deeply meaningful to her. Master James and Master William had brought unexpected brightness into her world, and in caring for them and shaping their education, she felt a profound sense of contribution and belonging within the Blackthorne household. Roger discovered the fiddle, and after a brief adjustment began to play a set of English airs. The boys had not known Mr. Burke could play, and the sound that filled the room was unexpectedly rich and beautiful, measured, expressive, and full of quiet skill. As the music continued, it seemed to settle into the deeper memories of those listening. Lord Blackthorne, in particular, grew still. After a moment he lowered his gaze, overcome with emotion, and quietly wiped at his eyes. The music carried with it the weight of earlier days and long-forgotten reflections, stirring gently to the surface by the familiar strains of the melody. "Darling, whatever is the matter?" Lady Camille asked softly, as she noticed Lord Blackthorne overcome with emotion. "My beloved," he said quietly, "Miss Butterfield was like a second mother to me. She helped shape my upbringing, and I am deeply grateful that I can finally express that gratitude and care for her in return." Camille's expression softened with understanding. She took his hand gently. "And that," she said warmly, "is part of why I chose you. You are a kind and thoughtful man, a gentle and capable ruler. It is that sensitivity that makes you who you are." She squeezed his hand. "Never be ashamed of your emotions, my love. They are part of your strength." Something positive shifted in Blackthorne. "With you at my side, I will always be strong. I love you eternally, my Camille."